A dozen alien cadets circled the training room, each flaunting a flawless advantage: telepathy, crystallized memory, super strength. Then, Cadet Leon Jax, Harlow, stepped forward, palms empty, eyes calm. In that moment, nobody realized how a single human could shatter everything they thought they knew about Earth's ordinary survivors. The Astromark Academy hung in space like a gleaming pearl, its orbital rings spinning lazily around the central hub. In the year 3452 Galactic Standard, it stood as the preeminent training facility for interspecies military and diplomatic cadets. The High Annex Training Hall buzzed with anticipation as 50 beings from across the stars gathered for evaluation day. Leon Jax, Harlow, stood at the back of the crowd, measuring his breaths. At 19, he was the first human in his cohort, unremarkable in physique, with his average height and lean build. His calm demeanor masked the steel beneath a disciplined mind forged in Earth's unpredictable dangers. His singular goal: prove that humanity belonged among the galaxy's elite guardians. Commander Rivtar moved through the hall with the fluid grace typical of the Ashkari. Silver scales rippled across his form as he assessed each cadet with eyes that had seen decades of combat. The veteran instructor commanded respect with every gesture. "Positions," Rivtar ordered, his voice resonating through the chamber. Cadet Zyrex fluttered to her station, feathered arms adjusting her equipment. The Zepyrian's innate astral sense had made her the natural choice for navigation specialist in their cohort. "No planet's orientation can stump me," she announced. Not for the first time that week, beside her. Turak of the Kelvari straightened to his full height, crystalline eyes scanning the room with practiced indifference. The memory savant could recite entire legal codes flawlessly, a gift that fueled his arrogance. "Prepare for fundamental assessment," Turak said, voice crisp with precision. "Those without specialized aptitude should consider auxiliary roles." His gaze flickered toward Jax. The Academy's creed hung prominently above them. Each species excels in one domain. Only together can we master the galaxy's uncertainties. Yet, despite this proclamation of unity, subtle hierarchies had formed within weeks of their arrival. Those with exotic abilities looked down upon what they termed normals. The question lingered in every sideways glance. Where did humans fit? As Turak launched into a flawless recitation of the Interstellar Envoy Protocol, Commander Rivtar's voice suddenly cut through the hall. "Emergency survival drill. All cadets report to Shuttle Deck 4 in 6 minutes. This is not a simulation." The chamber erupted into controlled chaos. Zyrex hovered higher, rushing to claim her specialized astrosense gear. Turak immediately began vocally processing environmental data for what they all assumed would be a frozen moon exercise. Jax moved quietly to the bulletin board, scanning the digital readout. Survive 48 hours on Morgoth Prime's frigid wastelands. Reach pickup point before sub-zero nightfall. Standard issue equipment only. A flicker of doubt crossed Jax's features. No telepathy, no heat vision, no specialized adaptations like his peers. Would his mind be enough? The memory of his father's voice echoed from childhood lessons in Earth's unforgiving wilderness. "Trust your instincts before your tools, Jax." He made his decision, then he would rely on instincts rather than technology. As he moved toward the shuttle bay, he noticed the murmurs rippling through the ranks. "What advantage could a human possibly have on an ice world?" a Serpentine cadet whispered to another. "Soil-bound, temperate adapted. They'll freeze before the first rest period," came the response. Jax kept his eyes forward. They didn't understand Earth. Nobody did. The shuttle ride to Morgoth Prime took 2 hours. Zyrex practiced quantum star mapping on the holo console, her feathers fluttering with concentration. Turak stood near the viewport, reviewing cryobot maintenance specifications with surgical precision. Jax remained silent, studying the station's passage over Morgath's glacial terrain. He was formulating a plan. Turak paused his recitation to cast a smirk in Jax's direction. "You'll freeze in hours." "I've weathered worse on Earth," Jax replied quietly. Turak offered a disdainful glance. "We'll see." When they touched down on Morgoth Prime, reality struck harder than the briefing could convey. The atmosphere registered at 60 C below zero, with oxygen levels at merely 10% of Terran standard. Winds howled across the icy plains at 200 kilometers per hour, cutting through their insulated survival suits. "Move to designated quadrant." Commander Rivtar's voice crackled over the comm. "Shelter pods await." Xerix immediately calibrated her navigational scanners, their glow illuminating her determined features. Turak activated his memory chip databank, cross-referencing survival protocols. Jax did something unexpected. He removed the ear plating from his suit, listening to the wind's direction. He noted the shifting ice sheets, assessed rock outcroppings for natural shelter potential. His gaze tracked the distant horizon, where dark clouds gathered. A sudden storm front rolled in with terrifying speed, surgically disabling 2 cadets' portable heating cells with electrical interference. Panicked, Xerix ran to reboot her tech, fingers flying over the diagnostic panel. Jax, meanwhile, had already gathered ice-hardened branches from a frozen copse and fashioned a makeshift windbreak behind a natural spit of rock. Observing cadets gaped as Jax's simple structure held firm against crushing winds, while Xerix's dome tent collapsed under the gale. Her sophisticated equipment sparked and died. "Primitive," a Nexian cadet muttered, but there was uncertain respect in his compound eyes. Others leaned closer, curiosity overtaking skepticism. "Why trust scrap when we have nanofabrics?" asked a small Ventralian. "What if your tech fails?" Jax responded coldly, reinforcing his shelter's base with packed snow. Turak pushed forward through the gathering crowd. "Show us your so-called human advantage," he challenged. Jax merely nodded, determination flickering in his eyes. As dusk fell across Morgoth's white landscape, an eerie screech echoed across the frozen plains. A pack of silica drake creatures, native predators, with crystalline scales and razor talons, descended upon the shelter zone, drawn by the heat signatures of the cadets. Alien cadets scrambled to arm energy blasters, their faces tight with fear. Jax calmly gathered flammable algae he'd discovered near a frozen stream earlier. With practiced hands, he improvised a roaring blaze that cast long shadows and drove the drakes back from the perimeter. Xerix's scanner beeped uselessly, misreading the drake's thermal signatures and delaying her response. A young Dathi cadet froze in place, paralyzed by the drake's eerie screeching. The empathic species was particularly vulnerable to emotional shock. Without hesitation, Jax rushed forward, hoisting the small cadet behind a protective rock lip, shielded only by his improvised fire. "Stay low," he instructed, his voice steady. "Their vision tracks movement, not heat." That night, in the emergency bivouac area, cadets whispered about that human's survival instincts. Turak hissed to Xerix across their shelter. "He's too comfortable in lethal conditions. It's unnatural." Xerix's features showed unease. "But he saved that Dathi child." Their conversation halted as Commander Rivtar appeared via hololink, his form shimmering in the freezing air. "All cadets must reach the northern pickup ridge by 0600 hours Galactic Standard. Loss of contact means termination." The final word hung ominously in the frigid air, alone in his shelter. Jax stared at the alien stars. His mind drifted to his father's grave on Earth's tundra, victim of the very environment that had forged them both. Was he selfish for caring about his own safety, more than showcasing his difference? He rolled the thought away like a heavy stone. Survive that ridge, and maybe prove humanity's worth. Dawn broke with piercing light across the crystalline landscape. The cadets broke camp, moving in loose formation toward the distant ridge. Jax kept pace, conserving energy with a measured stride that puzzled his companions. Halfway to their destination, disaster struck. An underground ice cavern collapsed beneath their path, sending shockwaves that severed comlinks and buried half the group under glittering debris. Xyrix and Turak found themselves trapped on opposing ledges. Oxygen levels began plummeting as environmental suits registered damage. The group fractured into smaller pockets, shouts of alarm echoing across the chasm. Sub-zero gases seeped from cracks in the ice. Unstable flows cracked with every movement, threatening to send more cadets into the abyss. Time was their enemy now, the temperature dropping further as Morgath's sun began its quick descent. Jax stood at the edge of the newly formed crevasse, calculating. Orders demanded regrouping, preserving the strongest. Instead, he began scaling treacherous ice spires toward Turak, whose crystalline eyes widened in surprise. "What are you doing?" Turak shouted as another ice shard broke free. "Save yourself!" Jax didn't respond, his fingers finding purchase where none seemed possible. His bones denser than his companions realized, allowed him to grip harder, pull with more force than anyone expected from his frame. His iron-forged resolve never wavered as he reached Turak's ledge. "Move," he ordered, pulling a primitive tool from his belt. Turak spat curses in frustration as icebergs tumbled around them. But Jax's grip never faltered. When his tool snapped against the compressed ice, Jax simply used his bare hands, prying open a collapsed hatch with raw strength. He dragged Turak free as the cavern's core trembled with imminent collapse. Simultaneously, Xyrix's attempted self-rescue failed, her navigation device shorting out in the extreme conditions. Jax diverted from the path to safety, scaling an adjacent fissure with impossible speed. He hoisted her out by her belt tether, muscles straining against gravity and cold. Exhausted, beaten by ice shards, Jax faced the ultimate choice: stay to pull out the last Dathi cadet, the one he'd rescued during the Predator attack, or head for the ridge to ensure at least half the cohort survived. The Dathi's wide eyes met his across the chasm. The small creature had wedged itself into a narrow crevice, trembling but alive. Corpses of lesser-adapted cadets lay frozen nearby. Time was slipping away like sand. Jax tore away from his own path to safety. He descended back into the collapsing cavern, defying every alien whisper that humans were reckless threats. With methodical precision, he navigated falling debris, reached the Dathi, and secured the small alien to his back. "Hold tight," he instructed, beginning the treacherous climb out. The ascent was agony. Every muscle screamed in protest, ice crystals forming on his eyelashes as his breath came in white clouds. The Dathi clung to him, its slight weight still a burden in these conditions. Yet Jax pushed forward, finding handholds where others would see only smooth ice. When they emerged from the crevasse, Xyrix and Turak waited, their expressions a mixture of awe and disbelief. "We must move," Jax said simply, setting the Dathi down. "Ridge is 3 kilometers north." They crawled into the final clearing, just as dawn's flare burst across the horizon, painting Morgath's ice plains in ethereal light. The shuttle landing zone beacon activated transporter beams locked onto their signatures. Xyrix regarded Jax with undisguised admiration. Turak's eyes glinted with grudging respect. Back aboard Astromarch Academy, Dr. Thysera's reptilian fingers hovered over medical scans. Her compound eyes blinked in rapid succession as she analyzed the data streaming across her console. Jax's bone density, cellular repair markers, blood oxygen levels, all registered far beyond normal parameters. "This can't be right," she muttered, cross-referencing Earth's planetary profile in the galactic database. Her scales flared in shock. Class 12 Deathworld, Word spread through the academy like wildfire. Cadets gathered in hushed clusters. Deathworld class? Humans should have perished on Morgath Prime. How could we not know? Did the admission board miss this? Are they dangerous to the rest of us? Commander Rivtar convened an emergency council meeting. Alien officials demanded answers. Why would humans evolve to master environments that kill the rest of us? Asked a Venorian ambassador, his translucent tentacles twisting with agitation. And, more importantly, should we fear them? The grand auditorium buzzed with tension as delegates from 50 worlds debated humanity's place in galactic society. Jax stood at attention before them, his face impassive, despite the weight of their collective scrutiny. At last, Commander Rivtar stepped forward, silencing the chamber with a raised hand. Humans are no longer a mere enigma, he announced, voice carrying to every corner. They emerge from a world of deadly volatility. Earthiat choose to protect others, not prey upon them. He turned to face Jax directly. Effective immediately, Earth cadets are designated Deathworld Guardians. They will be assigned to rescue and reconnaissance in the harshest theaters. Murmurs rippled through the assembly, not fear this time, but consideration. Zyrex stepped forward, her feathers gleaming under the chamber's lights. Once I doubted your methods, she addressed Jax and the assembly. Now I recognize that what we deemed fearsome is a shield for the weak. I stand proud to serve alongside you. The hall erupted in applause from diverse species, claws clicking, tentacles undulating, wings fluttering in their own forms of approval. Later, Jax stood alone on Astromark's observation deck as Earth's blue speck floated distantly among the stars. He recalled cold nights by his father's campsite lessons, learned by fire, storm, and survival. Earth made me this way, he whispered to the void. Now I'll use these gifts to save worlds. Behind him, the doors slid open. Commander Rivtar entered, his silver scales reflecting starlight. The Valiant awaits you and your fellow Guardians, he said. An advanced rescue vessel built for void-riddled crises. Your first mission departs at 0800. Jax nodded, feeling the weight of every cadet's eyes as he boarded the sleek vessel the following morning. Not with fear, but with faith. Their expressions held something new hop. As the ship's engines hummed to life, Jax glimpsed the mission briefing. A supernova remnant with potential survivors. A rogue ice belt with stranded colonists. Places where only a Deathworld survivor might stand a chance. The galaxy's future, it seemed, had gained an unexpected defender. The Valiant broke free from Astromarch's docking clamps, its hull gleaming like a silver promise. Jax took his position at the central console, joined by Zyrex and, surprisingly, Turak. The Kelvari's crystalline eyes met his without their usual disdain. Navigational systems online, Zyrex reported, her feathers rippling with anticipation. Emergency protocols loaded, Turak added, no longer seeming to find the human's presence distasteful. Jax activated the command sequence, feeling the ship respond to his touch. Commence rescue operations, he ordered, his voice steady with purpose. As the Valiant accelerated toward the stars, Jax reflected that perhaps humanity's greatest strength wasn't their Deathworld physiology at all, but their willingness to use it for others. The true gift of Earth wasn't just survival, but the choice to ensure everyone else survived too. The ship slipped into hyperspace, carrying Earth's first Deathworld Guardian toward those who needed him most. Behind them, Astromarch Academy had already begun recruiting more human cadets, recognizing at last that sometimes the most extraordinary ability is simply refusing to surrender to impossible odds. And for the first time since leaving Earth, Jax Harlow felt he had truly found his place among the stars. Turak cleared his throat, interrupting Jax's thoughts. I was wrong about you, he admitted stiffly. Your methods seemed primitive, but they were effective. Earth taught us to use whatever works, Jax replied with a slight smile. Technology fails. Instinct rarely does. Will you teach us? Asked the young Dathi cadet, who had insisted on joining this first mission despite the dangers. Can others learn what Earth has taught you? Jax considered the question. Some things can be taught. Others must be lived. He gestured toward the view screen where distant stars beckoned. But we can start with the basics. First lesson: how to build a fire when your heat generator fails. As Jax began his impromptu class, Commander Rivtar watched from the ship's upper deck. The Ashkari scales shifted in the equivalent of a satisfied smile. Perhaps the Academy's creed needed revision. Each species excels in one domain, but some remind us what it truly means to survive. The galaxy had feared humans might be monsters born of a nightmare world. Instead, they had found guardians forged in fire, tempered by ice, and defined not by their origins, but by their choices. The Valiant continued its journey into the unknown, carrying with it Earth's greatest export, resilience in the face of impossible odds, and the stubborn refusal to leave anyone behind. Dr. Thysera submitted her final report to the Galactic Council that evening. Her conclusion was simple, yet profound. In classifying Earth as a death world, we fail to understand its true nature. It is not merely deadly, it is demanding. It requires adaptation, innovation, and perhaps most significantly, cooperation. Humans are not merely survivors. They are teachers. Their presence among us may well redefine what we consider possible. As the report circulated among scientific communities, research vessels altered course toward the previously avoided Sol system. Earth, once a footnote in stellar catalogs, became the subject of intense study. What other secrets might this unassuming blue planet hold? Meanwhile, aboard the Valiant, alarm klaxons suddenly blared. A distress beacon had been detected, miners trapped in an unstable asteroid field with toxic gas, venting from ruptured containment chambers. Conventional rescue protocols indicate an 87% fatality rate, Turak announced, his voice tight. Jax studied the holographic display, noting the radiation levels and structural decay. Conventional protocols weren't written by someone from Earth, he said simply. Prepare environmental suits. We're going in. Xyrix's feathers flattened with determination. Navigation plotting optimal approach vector. As the Valiant maneuvered toward the asteroid field, Jax felt a strange sense of peace. This was why he had left Earth, not to escape its harshness, but to bring its lessons to those who needed them most. Each impossible rescue would be another testament to humanity's place among the stars. Deathworld Guardian, he whispered to himself, testing the title's weight. Not bad. The ship accelerated toward the crisis, carrying Earth's most valuable export hope, where none should exist, and the audacity to defy impossible odds. Behind them, at Astromark Academy, a new generation of cadets gathered around a display of Earth's unpredictable weather patterns, hurricane-force winds, and volatile tectonics. "This is where humans come from?" asked a wide-eyed Ventralian recruit. "Yes," replied Commander Rivtar, his voice filled with newfound respect. "And if we are wise, we will learn everything they have to teach us." In the depths of space, the Valiant's engines flared as it approached the miner's distress beacon. Jax checked his equipment one final time, remembering his father's words from long ago. It's not about being the strongest, son. It's about being strong enough for those who aren't. Today, and every day that followed, he would prove that humanity's strength came not just from surviving Earth, but from the compassion that survival had taught them. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. And perhaps that was exactly as it should be.